Hey everybody, it's John from MTGA Nexus here with some more Brawls to the Walls. This time we're playing Rienne, Angel of Rebirth. Now this list is probably 85 out of 100 cards based on the work of Spellcaster Showtime from about 6 months ago. I did some tweaking to get it a little bit more to where I like it. Did some changes to the early game, got a little bit more acceleration in the deck. You know, we have almost the full suite of like 1-mana accelerants, this Birds of Paradise, Delayed Halfling, Mystic, Land of Worlds, Utopia Sprawl, just to make the deck a little bit faster. Got Path and... Did I get Path in here, or did I get Swords? Got Path and Swords in here to help deal with annoying creatures like, I don't know, Kothis. Land tax, not as great in this deck, but we do have plenty of basics, so... We are an acceleration deck, but there are some decks that ramp harder. Sometimes when you're on the draw, it's just a solid card. Esper Sentinel, usual annoying self taxing the opponent. Mox Amber in a deck with a bunch of legends just seems like a good thing. We could certainly play things like Ragavan, but I don't know that this deck does the best of leveraging early game creatures like that, as we don't have a ton of removal in the deck. So, Allosaurus Shepherd is a card that I am not 100% sure on. But I do like having a little bit of utility for a few elves in the deck, while also making it more hard for the counter spell decks to be obnoxious. Their obnoxious selves. We play a bunch of early loyalty or mana creatures like Ruby. We play Priest of Titania, Paradise Druid. We have Into the North. Loam Speaker is an interesting one. And then Rampant Growth obviously kind of rounds out, and Into the North round out our early mana acceleration. Bard class is a obnoxious card that I used to play against a lot more in Explorer / Pioneer whenever the Legends deck was more of a thing. Goblin Archaeomancer just makes it a little bit faster. Faithful Absence just kind of adding to our removal spells. You know, you have a ton of different 3-drops. Rising of the Day is one that I'm not as convinced on. I would prefer a 2-mana haster in this spot. Maybe there's one. I'd have to do a little bit more investigating. Ancient Cornucopia is another one that could easily be cut, but it does add a little bit of life gain and mana fixing. We have Cultivate, Interest Restoration, Harrow, and Flare of Cultivation to kind of round out our 3-mana accelerants. Then we have, things like Gwenna, who is somewhat of an acceleration, obviously. Somber Wild Sage almost feels like we might have too much ramp in the deck, but Cabaretti Revels gives you value whenever you're playing creatures. Domri gives you a little bit of more can't be countered. Rhythm of the Wild, same thing, also gives your creatures possibly haste. Anim, this is one I'm not sure about. Whenever you attack with one or more creatures, put a +1/+1 counter on it, then create gnomes attacking Flage, obviously pretty decent utility, removal spell, etc. Cosmic Rebirth, lets you rebuff fetch lands and some of your early creatures. Feybarrow Elder, yet another 3-mana accelerant's kind of broken. Back Alley Gardener, one of the few arena-only cards that I will play. This card's just kind of nuts, and I could easily see them turning it into a paper card by just flipping over until you hit a land card. Knight of Autumn, nice utility card against especially artifacts and enchantments, which this deck can be a little bit weak against. Cabaretti Ascendancy gives you a little bit of card selection as far as top of your deck with creatures and planeswalkers. Rocco exiles cards at your end step. Rocco Cabaret Kaler is a bit of a tutor. Ramp, as well as a big body. Helena and Elena, pretty powerful Sunder Shaman. While it's not a legend, does give you a little bit more utility against artifacts and enchantments. Shoulder and Skulls, a little bit of card advantage. Haktos can be a difficult one to kill. Sigarda gives everything hexproof except itself. Yasharn means your opponent can't sack, plus it allows you to dig out some lands. Jetmir, another card. I'm not sure if this one's good enough, because we don't go all that wide. Mirari's Wake, powerful Anthem effect and makes your mana better. Aurelia, obviously very good flyer. Xenagod can give any one creature haste. Roxanne, a little bit of utility, a little bit of targeted disruption. Minsk and Boo, does a little bit of everything. Makes a big obnoxious creature really quickly. Allows you to get deal damage to a target while draw some cards if you're sacrificing Boo. Nissa was initially skeptical on this one, but I think we have enough mana sinks in this card, and it can kind of take over a game on its own. Farewell, ultimate reset button in the format for the most part. Aurelia, great way to close out the game. Buxton, haven't really come across it much, though it was pretty powerful in the Easter Bunny deck a couple weeks back, but not as powerful a deck that's not going as wide. Anti-Flash can rebuy a lot of your, basically about half your deck. Omnath, this one can make armies in a can with your fetch lands, and then Zakama, probably the ultimate top end in these Naya decks. But Rienne, let's talk about our commander for a minute. Other multicolored creatures get +1/+0, and then whenever a multicolored creature you control dies, return it to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. I don't think we do enough to really abuse this. Obviously, it helps all your multicolored creatures hit a little bit harder, but maybe there's other cards like Hahar and Sigarda that you can rebuy that help protect your creatures. I tried to do a little bit of digging for legends and such, but I didn't see any others that are kind of that broken, at least in these colors. So if you can think of any that would help, abuse this, rebuy, comes back to your hand ability, please let me know down in the comments. But that said, let's get into some matches and see how this deck played out. Alright, sticking with this opening hand, our first match with Rienne. I think it's just too slow, so we're gonna mull. This hand's a little bit faster, so we'll definitely try it. There's only one recent sort of thing with Rienne. I'll give credit. I think during the deck tech, I'll try to give credit. I've tried to update it and change it a little bit closer to a little bit closer to what I would play. I try to avoid as many arena-only cards as possible when I'm trying to build a deck to see possibilities. I think this one we go with Back Alley Gardener, which this card is just absolutely bonkies in terms of what it does. This card is card advantage, it's acceleration. If it stays on the battlefield, this card is just nuts in any Naya colored deck, so to speak. Play lands from your graveyard. Like I said, I did make some adjustments from the list. It's probably like maybe 8, 10, 12 cards off from the list about 6 months ago someone else played. Rienne, I forget why I even chose this card. I think I ran into it. So, Cabaret Ascendancy. So, only untap land. Green source, probably another red source. Seek, we shall find. Does anything go south if we attack with this? No, I don't think we gain any advantage either. Let's take it off. One of the things I found with this deck is, decks can easily outscale these decks faster, so you definitely want to try to get on the board quickly. That's why I mulliganed our first hand and we only had like a acceleration. And while Brawl is not commander, there are some starts where your opponent's going to have 5 mana on turn 3 quite easily in this format. I think I played a game earlier with the just that fair deck that just went like turn 5? Yeah, as much as I'd like to sit here and watch that, I'm just trying to go crazy here. I think we're going to go ahead and concede this match for obvious reasons. Domination should be an interesting one. This hand's a little awkward, but I do think we try it. Awkward because our green source is tapped. Playing that, Lord only knows what kind of counter spells and whatnot people have. I don't know if we're presenting lethal here, but it's going to be close. They don't have nice. Alright, so the deck, the person in question was Spellcaster's Showtime. They have an interesting Brawl channel where they do basically content without any live speaking, so it's just like the ambiance of the arena playing, etc. I think this hand is fine. Doesn't really have any early plays outside of ramp, which if we draw a fetch land, Cosmic Rebirth becomes a ramp spell as well. So I think this is a hand you can definitely keep. Jetmir's a little mid. This is one of the cards that I would be considering cutting for something more impactful if you need, a little bit more utility, but we're up against Rienne. So looks like we're on the hard ramp plan here. So do this, play a Rampant Growth, get basic Moonton. So we now have all of our colors lined up. Invasion, Recruiter of the Guard. So I'm assuming this will get like Solitude or something. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Two basic land cards. Solemn Simuladaddy. Okay. Do this. We probably want a green and a red. Kind of balance out our colors here. So if they don't get a blue here, it is possible they are mono white. Nope, but they do. They do get some mana fixing. Play Xenagod and kind of hope it sticks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Guess since we're so close to Zakama, we might as well Zakama and get it. Soul Herder. That one is terrifying. So they're a Blink 187 deck. Soul Herder isn't legendary, correct? Nope, I didn't think so. Number is 2. Why didn't that target that? Oh, it has protection from everything but that, so I can't even target it with Xenagod. Good to know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We do have an untapped land next turn. We could have a lot of fun. But I suspect our opponent's got some counter magic. Cast it. +1/+1 counter. Opponent is really making sure to leave up all of their blue mana. This card is really annoying. Good chance we eat a counter spell here. A lot less interesting of a game when your opponent's basically tutoring every turn. Had a really interesting game against Rakdos last night that for reasons I couldn't keep recorded, but This is probably the most interesting back and forth game this deck's had so far. Alright, we're up against an Emery deck, so probably some type of artifact nonsense. This hand's just a little too clunky, I think, on the draw. Play a land tax on one, but then we're not really doing much on two, so I think we just maul that hand. This hand at least is interesting. Good to go. How quickly can we get to Minsk and Boo? Emery's not likely to have many ways to kill things, so maybe we're supposed to play Esper Sentinel there in case they like unload a bunch of cards. Yeah, I literally don't care about the graveyard. Opponent clearly has, well, I guess it's not clearly. It could either be Pact of Negation. Well, no. They could have activated abilities on this, so I can't really count on a stick. So we'll just pass. Attack in here. Like, we could cast Flare of Cultivation, but I just don't think it's necessarily worth it here. Got Bupkis. So do this. We have a green. So what am I getting here? Am I playing around some type of counter spell? Probably not. Gonna grab probably a. I screwed up the timing on this. We'll just get the Tri-Land since I'm not gonna get any value off of a Surveil. We'll just get Jet Mirrors. Do this. So plenty of green. Get one of those. Get one of those. That into play tapped. That's our land for next turn. And the question is, if our opponent leaves a bunch of mana untapped, or, you know, uses Bear Trap to kill Mystic or Sentinel. Okay, Springleaf Drum. Okay. Literally nothing of value in that graveyard, but sure. That. Which one do I want to? I guess we'll go with Aurelia Above the Law. Probably should have attacked with Esper Sentinel there. I don't think there's any random flash creature they could have, but in a sense I'm really exposing it. It is taxing their mana a little bit, so. Boo! Attacks and control creature with 4 power greater. Ruby gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Okay, so those two kind of pair up nicely with each other. So I have to also pay attention because I added the 1-mana elf that makes your green spells uncounterable. I actually have to pay attention, like how many like green cards do I have versus how many like Boros and mono white cards, just to see if it's even worth it against these mono blue and like blue X counterspell decks. It's got 4 cards in hand. Feels like we're getting whooped. 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mana possible. So we can only play one of these plays. I think we'll go to combat first. One can really attack with those two. And this is the way we rope instead of conceding a match because we're not happy. This is the way we rope the match because we're a sore loser. You'll go. Okay, play that since they don't want to do anything. Minskin boo-hoo-hoo. We're going to rope, but we're not going to succeed or concede. Legendary killer hamster. You know, I don't want to know what they're feeding this hamster that it gets this big this quickly, but whichever, right? Showdown on the Skulls could certainly be the One Ring. Exile top 4 until the end of your next turn. You may play those cards. Like certainly there are some things with like the Bard class and Goblin or Archaeomancer or whatever it is that, you know, makes blue or red spells cheaper. Alright, and my opponent spontaneously combusted. So I think out of everything but mono blue decks, Kotis is probably my least favorite to play against lately. It's just very obnoxious because first off it starts out with Indestructible. So just on the basis of the fact that I have Path to Exile, I am going to keep this hand. We do have a little bit of ramp, a little bit of interaction with things like Boseiju. Not really a whole lot of action in this hand. And these like Highland Forest hands are just kind of mid. So decent chance this eats like a Fatal Push or a Cut Down. So bird is the word of the dird. Have you heard about a bird, 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 bird? Bird is the word about a bird, bird, bird. The bird ain't a turd. Sure. They've got rum. Hey, shocker, Fatal Push. Seriously? Alright, well, this ain't gonna be a very interesting game. Just because Codis is such an obnoxiously hard card to answer. Guess we can besiege you into a unless it's attacking, because Codis has indestructible. Spells without paying mana cost. 2 lands, nice. I get an elf. You may cast any more spells with mana value X or less, where X is the. Okay. Do that. About Harrow. Harrow be thy name. Boom, boom. Fact Harrow is a reasonable card to leave on top. Number one, if we draw it, it gives us more lands, so that's not terribly bad. If we don't draw it, then... Oh, now they get to cast it. Fire Shrieker. Now you're beginning to see why this card is so obnoxious. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Aurelia. No! That would have been pretty darn close to lethal. 2, 3. So they get an elf and Omri, I guess. Opponent's sitting on some type of blue interaction. So do I play Rienne or do I level up? Guess in the end we can do both. Opponent gets a bunch of mana. Okay. Okay. What is our best path forward here? Pretty sure I left myself dead on board, but if they had any type of kill spell, we would have had a chance, because Omnath punishes them for... Yeah, I'm pretty sure if they attack all... Yep. Kothis is just too much of a pain to try to overpower. Of course not. Card's obnoxious.